Tiffany Heck. I'm one of the dietitians here at Hutchinson Regional Medical Center, and we also have two other dietitians, Alexis Witt and then Brooke Southards, who's also our clinical nutrition manager. So I'm wanting to talk with you a little bit about wellness related to nutrition. And first I'll describe what a dietitian is and how we earn that credential. And then I'll go through what a fad diet is, how to identify those, as well as what some more sustainable lifestyles would be with the general healthful diet and Mediterranean diet, and then mindful eating and an exercise that you can try at home related to that. Do you want to lose or gain weight? Are you pregnant, looking to become pregnant, or just had a child? Are you looking for ways to maintain your health in your older years? Are you an athlete looking to boost performance? These are just a few of the reasons people seek the expert, science-based advice of an RDN or RD. So what is a registered dietitian or registered dietitian nutritionist with the credential RD or RDN? They're the same thing. Some people just choose to add the N towards the end of their credential, and this just further clarifies what their responsibility is. So a registered dietitian or registered dietitian nutritionist will partner with you to develop a safe and realistic eating plan that you can stick with for the long haul. To guide and motivate you, we will use creative and out-of-the-box strategies to help with meal planning, grocery shopping, and mindful eating. Registered dietitian nutritionists are food and nutrition experts who have met several criteria in order to earn that credential. They have to complete a minimum of a bachelor's degree. They have to complete an Ascend accredited supervised practice program, as well as pass a national exam that's administered by the CDR. After they've passed the exam, they have to continue to complete 75 CEUs every 5 years to maintain that credential. Some dietitians hold additional certifications in specialized areas of practice, such as pediatric or renal nutrition, sports dietetics, nutrition support, and diabetes education. They may find employment at a variety of different places, such as hospitals, wellness programs, businesses, industries, private practice, community and public health settings, universities and medical centers, and even research. Next, we'll talk about fad diets. So fad diets are plans with the best and fastest approach to losing weight. Some of these diets eliminate foods that contain necessary nutrients your body needs to maintain good health. They are typically endorsed by celebrities or promoted through media. They may offer a temporary solution to what for many people is a lifelong problem. So once the diet is stopped, the lost weight is usually regained quickly. They don't focus on lifestyle modification that's necessary to keep the weight off. So these diets are typically not sustainable throughout life. So how do you spot a fad diet? Several ways to spot a fad diet include if it recommends a quick fix, recommends a promise that is a quick fix, if it has a claim that sounds too good to be true, a simplistic conclusion that's drawn from a complex study. There may be recommendations based on a single study, dramatic statements that are refuted by reputable scientific organizations. It lists good and bad foods, recommendations made to help sell a book or a product, or there may be recommendations based on studies that are published without a peer review. Or there could even be studies that ignore differences among the individual or the group. And then typically they eliminate one or more of the 5 food groups, which would be fruits and vegetables, grains, protein foods, and dairy. And then a lot of these diets have testimonials with them. So several different examples of fad diets include the Atkins diet, which is a relatively common one. And this is a low carbohydrate, high protein diet. It's going to have typically less than 50 grams of carbohydrates per day with a high consumption of animal protein. A high carbohydrate, low fat diet, or for example, the Pritikin diet, is low fat, low calorie, plant-based foods that are mainly from fruits and vegetables, and the fat does not exceed 10% of total daily calories. The low carbohydrate, high fat diet, which a common example that's very popular today is the ketogenic diet. This has high fat, adequate protein, and low carbohydrates. And so it changes the way that your body uses its energy. The combination diet, or for example, the zone diet, this is a hormonal control that's controlled via a specific ratio of protein, carbohydrates, and fat. The one food diet, or for example, the grapefruit diet, this may combine certain foods with grapefruit and grapefruit juice, but no sugary or starchy foods are allowed. And then a formula diet, or anything that uses a dietary supplement such as Slim Fast, is based on drinking a meal replacement once or twice a day, each containing around 240 calories. And so you're eating that supplement in place of a meal. So, how can you sustain a healthy lifestyle? There are several benefits to following a general healthful diet that can help you sustain that lifestyle. Depending on your food choices, it could mean less calories, salt, added sugar, saturated fat, and trans fat than many other diets. So now I'm going to show you a couple examples of how much salt and fat is in different foods. Sometimes it can be helpful for us to visualize that to see how much we're actually eating. So I'll just show you a few examples from each of these boxes. So this tube represents how much fat is in one Big Mac, such as from McDonald's. So that tube is completely full. This tube represents one slice of cheese pizza, so a lot less fat than a Big Mac. But obviously the more toppings you add to pizza, the higher fat content, more slices of pizza that you eat, more fat you're going to be consuming as well as calories. This tube represents regular ice cream. So you can see that tube is about half to 3/4 full. This tube represents frozen yogurt, so a lot less fat than ice cream is going to have. There's just a little tip there at the bottom that would contain fat. So frozen yogurt for the fat content would be a better option. This tube represents brisket, which is a high fat meat, and this tube is completely full. There's no empty space in that tube. This tube represents chicken without the skin, which would be considered a lean meat. And so you can see that tube's not even quite a quarter full, so a much better option than brisket would be. This tube represents a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, which is the maximum amount that our body needs in a day just to function. Our bodies do need salt, which is also the same thing as sodium, and that is a primary electrolyte. But we only need a very small amount, a 1/4 teaspoon. This tube represents one hot dog, a tablespoon of ketchup, 14 chips, a teaspoon of mustard, and half a cup of baked beans. So this tube is almost completely full of salt. This tube represents 2 teaspoons of salt, which is the average American intake of salt in one day. So again, this tube is pretty much full of salt. And this tube represents 2,300 milligrams of salt, which is the upper limit of what we should have in one day. So Americans consume about twice as much salt as what is recommended. So sometimes when we just focus on simple things such as eating more whole grains, legumes, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, just those simple changes can improve how much fiber, vitamins, and minerals that you eat in a day. Or even like we just showed in those salt and fat tubes, if you reduce how often you have high fat and high sodium content foods, that can help as well. It's all balanced in moderation. By making these simple changes, it can lower your risk of conditions such as diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, stroke, and even cancer. So some more specific tips for following a general healthful diet. These things will help lose weight and keep it off. This is the best method. Overall, exercising regularly and eating a variety of unprocessed or minimally processed foods with moderate portions can help. Specifically, eating at least 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day, making sure that you're getting a variety of colors from those fruits and vegetables, not just focusing on greens or purples or reds, but trying to get all of the colors. And then in place of meat, you can get your protein from eating eggs, fish, poultry, beans, peas, soy-based foods, and nuts and nut butters. You can even get good protein from low-fat or fat-free dairy products. Meat typically is the highest content of saturated fat, so that's how you can help reduce the saturated fat intake. Also, try to keep your salt intake to a minimum of less than 2,300 milligrams a day. You can do this by avoid adding salt when you're cooking or when you're at the table eating your food. You can limit how much condiments that you use, such as soy sauce, ketchup, barbecue sauce. Those are all hidden with sodium. Eating freshly prepared meals at home can also help. A lot of your processed foods and your restaurant foods contain a lot more salt than if you would cook at home. And fresh fruits and vegetables are going to be the best choices for snacks. When you're shopping, try to choose products that have a lower sodium content. And you can even look for labels that say lower sodium, no salt added, things like that. For your sugar intake, you want to limit added sugars, which can be found in a lot of things such as honey, syrups, jelly, fruit juice, and fruit juice concentrates. Any sugar-sweetened beverages such as soda, certain fruit juices, sugary snacks, desserts, candies, all would have added sugars. So it's best to limit how much of these that you have. With unsaturated fats, you want to try to have more of those, and then limit your saturated and try to avoid altogether the trans fats as much as possible. Your unsaturated fats, or your healthy fats, these are going to be found in fish, avocado, nuts, and oils. Olive oil is a common oil to use. That's a great option. Your saturated fat is going to be in fatty meats, butter, ice cream, palm and coconut oil, cream, like heavy cream, and cheese are really common saturated fat products. And then your trans fats are going to be in most of your processed foods, any fast foods, convenience foods, pastries. Those are commonly high in trans fat. So when you're cooking, you can always use the vegetable oil. You can always boil, steam, or bake your food instead of frying it. Those are all ways that can also help reduce that saturated and trans fat intake. Another great option for a sustainable lifestyle is the Mediterranean diet. This diet emphasizes nutritious foods that provide essential vitamins and minerals, as well as other naturally occurring compounds that will help with good health. These typically are high in fiber and contain healthy fats, and they also will be lower in calories, sodium, added sugar, and saturated fats than most other diets. So again, similar to just the general healthful diet, this diet emphasizes healthy fats, things from olive oil, avocados, nuts, seeds, and it limits your less healthy fats from your red meats, your dairy products, processed foods. But the primary sources of protein in this diet are going to be seafood, legumes, and nuts. So again, some more specific tips for making healthy choices following a Mediterranean diet. Trying to eat a variety of fresh fruits and vegetables in a variety of colors every day. Making sure that you're getting at least half of your grains from whole grains, and that's in a daily dose. And so anything like whole wheat, brown rice, oats, barley, bulgur, cornmeal, those would all be whole grain examples. Your protein should mainly come from seafood, beans, peas, lentils, nuts, and nut butters, as well as seeds and seed butters. But if you want a small amount of meat, that's a great option too. Just try to get more from your lean meats, things like skinless chicken and turkey, your lean beef sources, or even eggs would be fine, or your fat-free, low-fat dairy foods. The heart-healthy fats, again, are going to come from your unsaturated fats, things like avocados, olives, and olive oil. And always make sure you're reading those nutrition labels so that it helps you avoid any food or beverages that have a large amount of added sugar, sodium, saturated fat, and trans fat. The last thing we're going to talk about is mindful eating. Mindful eating fundamentally involves eating slowly and without distraction. It helps you listen to your physical hunger cues and eat until you're full rather than just eating until you're uncomfortable. and it distinguishes between true hunger and non-hunger triggers. It also helps engage all your senses. You can learn to cope with guilt and anxiety about food by following this method. It eats to maintain overall health and well-being. And you can even notice the effect that food has on your feelings and your figure, and it helps you appreciate food. All these things allow you to replace automatic thoughts and reactions with a more conscious, healthier response. So if you want at home, there is something that you can do for an activity that would involve mindful eating. Go ahead and you can just grab a piece of chocolate if you'd like, and then you can go through the steps below in order, and this would be examples of eating chocolate using the mindful eating method. So first you would look at the chocolate, notice its texture, notice the color. You could even then close your eyes, explore the chocolate with your sense of touch. Does it feel hard or soft, grainy or sticky? Is it moist or dry? Then you can smell the chocolate and see what you notice. Keep your eyes closed and you can take a small bite and chew slowly. After you've taken at least 2 bites to finish it, take approximately 20 seconds to very slowly eat your first bite. Again, notice the texture of the chocolate, notice the way it feels in your mouth, the intensity of the flavor changes. After you've taken that first bite, you can take the last bite. Chew very slowly, pay attention to your senses, and notice the sensations of chewing and swallowing the chocolate. See if you notice anything about your thoughts and emotions as you eat this chocolate. So it really just helps you to slow down and enjoy what you're eating in the moment. The last slide includes some resources that I used. So if you want further information, you can always look at those resources as well. I hope you found this information helpful today. If you ever have any questions, feel free to contact Brooke, Alexis, or I. Our contact information or our offices can be found in the Food and Nutrition Department.